So I decided to get out of town for a catch and cook getaway and maybe catch a beautiful halibut in the surf. First, I checked the surf forecast for Santa Barbara County and noticed that there were several consecutive days of consistent small waves. That's the first thing I look for when hunting halibut on foot.
Then I checked the tides. I could see there were some suitable minus tides in the afternoon. And even better, these dates were within a few days of a full moon. So I made my list, packed the van, and hit the road. I crossed a couple county lines and grabbed a campsite. Then got geared up to see if I could hunt down a halibut on foot. I walked about a mile to get to the spot I wanted to try.
The beaches of each county in California have their own unique characteristics. In the south-facing protected county of Santa Barbara, the water tends to get dirty and murky. You can see right now down about 2 feet. And since I had the opportunity to live and fish in Santa Barbara for about 1 year, I learned a lot about it. One thing I'll share from my own experiences, if you want to become consistently successful at catching all kinds of fish in the surf, one thing you're going to need to learn is how to observe, understand, and respond to water quality. And this 2-day fishing trip was all about hunting for quality water. On the first day of fishing, I didn't drive to multiple beaches. Rather, I fished both sides of one specific point. And the water was brown on both sides. But let's discuss this brown water in more detail. If you're a freshwater fisherman, you may have heard the term chocolate milk in reference to brown colored, low visibility water, which typically happens after heavy rain. But in the California surf, we have 2 kinds of murky water. And while chocolate milk is still considered notoriously bad for targeting most species, this other kind of murky brown water that I call chocolate shake is great for surf fishing.
Chocolate milk happens when tiny particles of silt or clay enters the surf zone, usually through freshwater creeks or washed off loamy bluffs after it rains. These particles are churned up by waves, and because they're so tiny, they remain suspended for a very long time. If these particles reach a critical concentration, it renders the water opaque, just like a big jar of hot cocoa. It doesn't clear up in the calm protected pockets or tide pools.
But sometimes these particles are not concentrated enough to render the water completely opaque. And in that case, you just get limited visibility. This would be like if I took my jar of cocoa and dumped some of it into a 5-gallon bucket of clear tap water. The water may take on a stain of brown, but there's still some amount of visibility. If these particles are concentrated enough to render the visibility as low as, I'd say, 18 inches, in my opinion, it's about time to either go look for clear water or just go home and do laundry. There's a second kind of brown water that many anglers confuse for chocolate milk. It's what I call chocolate shake, and it can be really good for all kinds of surf fishing. So when you see cloudy brown water, take a closer look. Chocolate shake happens when relatively larger particles of inorganic matter, and this time I'm talking about sand, get churned up by waves. These relatively larger particles sink faster, so they suspend in the water column for a much shorter period of time.
If I drop a handful of gravel into water, you can see how quickly it sinks to the bottom in just a few seconds. A handful of sand does roughly the same thing, but you can see how the smaller particles are sinking at a slower rate. It might take 10 or 20 seconds for the water to clear up. This sand is what chocolate shake is made of. When we get down to particles as small as silt and clay, their tiny size allows them to remain suspended for longer periods. Water movement from waves prevents these small particles from settling, and the water stays murky, sometimes for days.
Because the relatively larger particles of sand sink faster, the cloudiness tends to clear up in the calm, protected pockets and tide pools, often within seconds. Which means if there's a long period between 2 waves, the water will be clearing up down there, And halibut may use that as an opportunity to look for food and attack before the next wave rolls through. Now, I've heard some of the best surf fishermen say that fish love to hunt the edge between murky water and clear water. But where do you find that in the surf zone? If the water's chocolate milk, the edge between murky water and clear water might be way out of casting range. But if it's chocolate shake, on the other hand, you're likely to find water clearing up in the calmer, protected pockets within casting range. Let's add one final dynamic to this theory, and that is, sometimes the water can be a mixture of chocolate milk and chocolate shake. So watch out for that too. I hope this knowledge empowers you to observe, understand, and respond to whatever kind of water you're looking at. Now, on this first day of the trip, I was seeing a mixture of both chocolate milk and chocolate shake. The visibility of the chocolate milk varied between 6 inches and 24 inches as I made my way down the beach. It was this chocolate milk that had me feeling less than confident, and my response was to walk another mile down the beach, searching for the best visibility I could find. So I walked and walked to the left side of the point, even past what I would consider the bay. And as I exited the section of beach that was protected by the point, the waves got larger and the water quality was getting worse. So when I got as far as I was willing to walk that day, I turned around and headed back in the direction I came from. When I got to what I call the belly of the bay, I was surprised to find clear water amongst some churned up chocolate shake. There's a lull between the waves. The water, I looked down, the water was clear. I could see straight down to the bottom. So that's what I mean by chocolate shake. The water's actually clear. What you're seeing here is just temporarily suspended particles of sand. I finally found what I was looking for, and I had walked right by it on my way out. So here's a huge lesson I want to share with you.
When I walked out initially, I was walking way up high on the beach, headed for some structure about a mile down the beach. I wasn't walking along the edge of the water and watching to see how the water quality changed as I made my way along the beach.
This was my mistake.
And I learned from that experience. So from now on, when I'm hunting halibut on foot, I'm going to do all my walking along the water's edge so I can observe the water quality as I make my way down the beach.
That way, if I get all the way down there and I don't like the way the water looks, I'll already know how it looks up the beach where I came from. So then I can make an informed decision. Should I walk back to the nice clear water I saw as I walked in? Or should I keep walking in search of better water quality? So I finally found clear water with some nice heavy chocolate shake. I got hopeful that I might actually find some halibut feeding, but this time I had a whole different challenge. This whole area with clear water had surfers passing through it every few minutes. The water is clearer and cleaner up here, but there are surfers coming right through where I want to cast. So I started throwing rocks at them. Just kidding. I just had to pay attention and be responsible for where I was positioning my line in relationship to the surfers. So you can see, here's a surfer. He's coming through. I've got my bait out of the water. I got my thumb up. Well, as it often goes when setting out with the intention of catching a halibut in the surf, the bite I was looking for just didn't happen that day. Although I did manage to catch this big, beautiful perch, which made a great dinner. My goodness. We got a slab this time. Finally got a good one. Right on, guys. Got one, guys. I got a really nice one right there. Got that on the Battlestar 115 glow white sardine. I started halibut fishing with swim baits, and then I went to the right side of the point, started fishing with a jerkbait. Caught a couple small perch, and then finally landed this nice big one. All right, it's dinner time. That crow right there has become my best friend, apparently. So with a catch and cook under my belt, it was time to hit the sack.
Before falling asleep, I was thinking about conditions tomorrow morning and how I wanted to respond to them. I knew it would be high tide at sunrise and then outgoing all morning, so I decided to sleep in and focus my energy on the afternoon low tide and the incoming tide at sunset. I really wanted to catch a halibut, so I fell asleep dreaming about making a cast and setting the hook.
The next morning, I woke up and spent the outgoing tide thinking through the game plan. Low tide was around 3 p.m., so I had some time to buzz the county, check in at a few beaches, and search for clear water. The first beach I checked was still way too brown. I could see brown water all the way out, as far as about 100 yards, and then it suddenly transitioned into dark blue water, way out of casting range. Well, the water didn't look good, so I drove further south. The second beach I checked had a seasonal creek running, and the water was also too murky brown with chocolate milk. The third beach I checked was also a bit on the brown side, but it looked significantly clearer. I wondered if this might be the best water I could find today. I decided to go for it and hope that I might find clear water up the beach. All right guys, welcome back. This is day 2 of my little camping trip, my getaway. And I've been having a hard time finding clear water in the county of Santa Barbara, but today I started my morning by just visiting a few beaches and walking down to the water and taking a look. And this was the cleanest water I found, the clearest water I found. Lo and behold, as I fished my way up the beach, I found some really clear pockets. To see how clear the water is, one thing I'm not seeing is sand. The first thing I noticed was just how rocky this beach looked. It had been stripped of nearly all sand due to the big winter swell. As I started reading the water and making a few casts into the protected pockets, I began to wonder if these pockets were even sandy on bottom. Hopefully we can find some sandy pockets along the way. So now that I found clear water, my search turned to looking for calm protected pockets with sandy bottoms within casting range. Here's a great tip. If the beach looks mostly rocky and stripped of sand, and you're wondering where there might be some sand on bottom out there under the water, look behind you up on the beach and notice, do you see sand up on the beach, or is it all rock? The way I find sandy patches in the water is by looking for sandy sections of beach out of the water. Remember, the sand is being stripped off in the winter and redeposited in the summer. So taking that pattern into consideration, I figure if there's sand up on the beach, then there's probably sand down in the water directly in front of it. And now you can see there is sand on bottom right here. So that's great. That tells me there's probably sand on the bottom out in front of me right here. So I should really slow down, wade out as far as I can, and just look for some pockets to cast into. Right in front of me, that bottom is sandy. I can see down to the bottom here and there, and it's got the color of sand. So I'm gonna make quite a few casts into this little area right here. I hope there's a big halibut down there looking for something to eat. And I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what the waves look like today. They're not tiny. They're like medium small. That's about as big as I like them. I don't like them any bigger than that when I'm halibut fishing. I just got my first bite. Didn't get the hook set. It's too bad. Let's try again. It's right in that pocket right in front of us right there. I can slow it all the way down. What I'm doing? When it's calm, it doesn't put a lot of slack in your lines, so then you can really slow down. When the waves push your bait in, then you got to pick up that slack and crank a little faster. When it's calm, I can drag that bait as slow as I want, just like this. All right, I found the sand. Here, look at all this sand. The whole sandbar right here. This is definitely gonna be a good spot to catch some halibut. The question is, can we get our bait in front of them? Halibut, as you may have heard, are ambush predators. That means they're gonna lay down in one spot, slightly buried and completely camouflaged in the sand while they wait for their prey to get very close. And then, bam. A halibut can jump off the bottom, inhale a whole bait fish, and then immediately swim back down to the bottom and bury itself in the sand again. And it can do all of this in about 1 second. So let's think like a halibut and see through a halibut's eyes for a moment.
You're laying on the bottom in the sand in one of these sandy protected pockets. There's a big bar of reef covered in eelgrass protecting you from the power of the waves. There's some kelp drifting in the current nearby. You're waiting for a nice big baitfish to get really close, and along comes this Battlestar 5-inch ribbait, crawling along the bottom and bounces you in the nose.
Smack. One. It's not even shaking its head very much at all, so it is probably a halibut. Oh, yeah. That is on the Blurple reverse minnow. I don't really want to take them out of the water. Look how pretty they look when they're in the water. Let's go ahead and pop that hook out. All right, so as you guys can see, I did not take this short halibut out of the water. I'm keeping him either in the water or over the water. That's kind of the key to keeping these guys in good shape. Then just grab your swimbait hook, just pop it out, and he swims away. It's so easy. So I don't know why people keep dragging these little halibut that they can't keep up onto the beach and getting sand all over them and injuring the fish. They're banging their heads. If you catch a shorty and you're gonna release it, keep it in the water, man. There's no reason to take it up onto the beach. I hope you appreciate all the hard work I put into creating these videos and blog posts. I have fun sharing what I'm learning about surf fishing with you. And if you like this sort of thing, you can support Vince Goes Fishing and our Facebook group, California Surf Fishing CSF, by shopping on our website. Get 10% off your entire order when you use code VinceGoesFishing at casurffishing.com. Or support my buddies like Edward from Hook to Cook. Buy Battlestar tackle products at hooktocook.shop. And now you can support my new friend Ben from American Sea Fishing. Ben is a professional surf fishing guide based out of Orange County, and he authors the blog AmericanSeaFishing.com, which is yet another place where you can now purchase Battlestar tackle products. So as always, fish safe, fish legal, and fish hard. Keep fishing fun and keep fish in the water. Sharp hooks and strong knots. Good luck. Go chase your dreams.